Open up a tab, grab a seat, and pour a pint. It's time for the Beer Guys Radio Show.
You want free beer? Go to the brewery.
Dedicated to the art, science, and enjoyment of craft beer.
Yeah, what's wrong with the beer we got?
Now, here are your hosts, Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams.
Oh, we're starting early. I love that sound.
Let's do this.
Absolutely. Hey, welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are radio for the local craft beer movement, broadcasting from our AM, the 920 The Answer Studios in Buckhead. And I'm Aaron Williams.
And I'm Tim Dennis. And this week we have Ken Jones and Lee Dickson in the studio with us. We're going to be talking beer history and Breweriana. I struggle with that word. I'm going
to say beer stuff collecting is what I'm going to say.
Beer stuff collecting. That's the official term.
That's it.
So
excellent. Well, yeah, we've got that. Of course, Brian Hewitt is in the house, fresh off of his trip from Las Vegas. So welcome back, Brian. And
thanks.
Yeah, we've had a good week. We've kind of went our separate ways, and it was funny. There was at one point in time this week, both you guys live up in the Cobb County, Woodstock, Cherokee County area, Buckhead, North OTP, and I live on the east side over in Lawrenceville, Gwinnett County. But there was actually a time where you guys were on the south side, and I was the only one that was up in your neck of the woods. So it was craziness.
We were all over.
What were you guys doing down there anyway?
We went down to Jailhouse.
Nice.
So I hadn't been down there, so we went down to visit them, had an awesome time, and enjoyed all the beers they had on there. They're 5-0. Mm-hmm. One we cracked for our pregame today, Zuzus and Wham Whams.
Okay.
Berliner with, what were the additions there?
It was pomegranate and cherry.
Yeah, delicious beer. Just fantastic.
It was.
So,
and
they've got a lot of good stuff on there. Enjoyed their Mexican lager, Federale, that they have. They're 5-0 IPA. So had a good time down there.
Yeah, speaking of 5-0 IPA, I talked to Glenn Golden, who's the brewmaster there, and drink this beer, and it's up on Beer Guys Radio if you want to learn more about the 5-0 IPA that's coming up.
A little profiling from the 5-0, right?
Styling and
the
5-0. Exactly,
yes.
Exactly. So it's good. But yeah, I got a little bit of a treat, actually, over the past week or so. My wife went running errands, and she asked me to go with her, which usually isn't a treat for anyone who's married. But
sure.
She was like, I've got to go over to Smyrna, Brazelton, or not Smyrna, but go over to the Smyrna area for a couple hours. Where can I drop you off? And I'm like, okay. So I was able to hang out at Five Seasons for a couple hours. Haven't been there in a while. Where it all began. Tim, it was
our very first meeting was there at Five Seasons Prado.
And again, they're cranking out great beers. Of course, I had the Seven Sisters, their classic München, which I can never pronounce correctly, and then a Hopgasm IPA, because I was really in the mood for a West Coast IPA, and that absolutely delivered. Also went to Lincoln Fill Station, and they had a Moody Tongue beer release party. They had 4 on tap, actually 5 on tap, but I only got to try 4 of them. But my favorite really was the Steeped Emperor's Lemon Saison, which was flavored with Meyer lemon. It was a really nice Saison, had a little bit more full body to it, but that Meyer lemon was just right there on the nose, and it was really, really good. So I enjoyed that. And my new favorite pool beer, or one of them, is the Evil Twin Pink Lemonade IPA.
Okay.
By Evil Twin.
I was curious about that. Tasty stuff?
It tastes exactly like a pink lemonade.
Okay.
Exactly like when they absolutely nailed it. And
didn't Mike's already do that?
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
There's a little bit of IPA in there, but then all of a sudden
right?
no hops. Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Right.
So we enjoyed that, and it was a lot of fun. So it was good.
Sounds like a good time.
Now, Brian, you just came back from a trip to Vegas. You went to the IPCPR. There you go.
It's a giant cigar and pipe trade show for my other thing, Stogie Review.
And that's a tough job.
Yeah, it was tough. Talking and smoking all day and then drinking. We had bottle shares every night because there's a bunch of beer guys there, so that was kind of neat.
Nice.
Got to drink some really fun stuff while I was there. I tried to drink local when I wasn't at the bottle share, so I had some Joseph James Citra Rye Pale Ale, which was probably my favorite local thing there. Some Big Dog Brewing Company Peace, Love, and Hoppiness, pretty nice. Tenaya Creek Hall & Oats, which I thought was pretty funny.
Was it out of touch? Out of time.
I was trying to figure out
cue the music there.
Exactly.
I was trying to figure that out, and also a Polygamy Nitro Porter, which I also drank.
Is that from Utah?
For the name. Yeah, I'm saying that's local-ish, but I got some whales in at the bottle shares. I got a little cable car.
There you go.
Delicious
definitely
beer.
tasted
Absolutely.
Wales,
yes.
bro. And some Paraba Java, Fresh Pliny the Elder, and some 2008 Lost Abbey Angel shares. So I drank I drink a lot, actually.
That's good.
Yeah.
I guess if you go to the ICPCR, you smoke a lot of cigars and then you drink a lot of beers afterwards. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to take a tally of how many different ways Aaron says IPCPR.
IPCPR?
Yeah, you should do that.
So we got a few variations.
That's
already,
right. That's what I do. I'm creative.
You're not
speller.
a cigar guy, right?
Once in a while. I'm not a huge cigar guy.
You're not going to the trade shows.
I'm not going to the trade shows, but I'll, a little Connecticut once in a while is happy for me. So it's a good
Brian,
times.
are any of the cigar guys getting into beer any as far as making or collaborations? It seems like something a couple of those guys would do.
We have a mutual friend that's homebrews and has collaborated with what was that, 6 Point?
Okay.
Out of
Dan.
Yeah.
Dan.
So Dan did
okay.
that. In terms of actual collaborations, not so much, but a lot of them are big time collectors and big time bottle share guys now. So
someone did a cigar aged in dragon's milk barrels. Who was that did that one?
Oh man,
you know the cigar, right?
I'm thinking about it. It's been a little while.
Yeah. Well, Perdomo had a craft beer series out for a little while, too.
I think they still have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, I tried a couple of those pairings, and they worked pretty well. I'm like, they nailed this pretty well as far as a
They did all right
go.
with that. But, they didn't go with anything like really intense cigar-wise.
Right.
So it's kind of stuff
which is what you want to do for most beers. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Very
Excellent.
cool.
I like that. That was good stuff. Now let's check out our Truck and Tap beers of the week.
Crack open a cold one. It's the Truck and Tap Beer of the Week. Craft beer and food trucks in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com.
So, Tim, what are we drinking this week?
We got a few, as I mentioned. We had the Jailhouse Zuzus there to start off with. We're moved on to another jailhouse. We've got 5-0.
That's tasty.
Lee brought a bunch of beers to share with us because for those that don't know, and most beer geekery people know Lee Rips Liberator with them. So what's up, man? So he's got, how do you pronounce this one, Lee?
Dry log.
Dry log. We have a dry log crew here, Wild by Design. Some Jolly Pumpkin, one of my favorite schmaltz beers. We got Postcard Pills, some Burial Gang of Blades, and we've got other ones. Brian's got some cool. We have plenty of beer for us to survive the show.
Absolutely. I think we'll be okay.
Yes.
It's very important. So definitely. Well, that's good. Let's go ahead and check out this week's headlines.
What's in the news? The beer guys have the scoop.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Time for headlines. Sponsored by Your Pie Perimeter in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center across from Perimeter Mall.
So many headlines to take on today or this week. Let's figure out. We've got, how about, remember, I don't know if you saw this last week or not, but we had the Alabama margarita law. And, of course, they had a law where they wouldn't allow you to sell pitchers of margarita at Alabama's restaurants, but you could sell individual glasses of it that totaled the amount of a pitcher of margarita.
It was craziness.
But they repealed that. That's gone now.
They did.
So that's good stuff.
Now, the ABC also said, just so people know, they didn't repeal it because of people complaining.
Sure.
It was already in the works, and the article originally saying they were banned was a little premature.
Okay. But
the law was there either way you look at it there,
exactly.
whether it was premature or not.
Exactly.
So.
Another one of the stories we've been following over the past few weeks or so is this whole Brewers Association independent brewing label. It's caused a brouhaha, so to speak. A lot of the folks I know, that was terrible. That was awful. But this is interesting, actually. So, citing freedom of expression, Flying Dog out of Delaware, they exit the Brewers Association over this new label that they're promoting right now.
The advertising and marketing code from the Brewers Association.
Yes, they're seeing as infringing on their freedom of expression. And according to Flying Dog, and again, this is from their press release, is that the BA's new marketing and advertising code is nothing more than a blatant attempt to bully and intimidate craft brewers into self-censorship and only create labels that are acceptable to the management and directors of the BA. Now, this also goes in favor. So it's talking about maybe what people would call, quote unquote, maybe some sexist or some offensive labels as well. So Flying Dog, I don't think they're necessarily offensive, but they got some of that crazy art, the art from Hunter S.
Don't
Thompson.
They have one called Raging Bitch?
Yes, they do.
So,
absolutely.
Can we say that?
We just did.
So
there you go. But so they've got some interesting names, and of course, there's a lot of them that float out there. So interesting.
Did you read the code by chance?
I didn't read the code, but
Lee, have you guys seen it? The Brewers Association code. Have you taken it? So it's fairly strict. I mean, with what they say there. So it's interesting seeing them stand up. Curious to see if any others face repercussions.
Yeah, exactly. So if we get to it, we got more headlines coming up later in the show, but now we've got to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back talking Breweriana with Lee Dickson and Ken Jones. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com. We'll be back right after this.
I'm Garrett Lockhart, President and Brewmaster at Red Brick Brewing, and you're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
The Beer Guys are back right after this.
It's Aaron and Tim, the Beer Guys. If you're like us, no lunch or dinner is complete without a pint or two of craft beer.
Which is why Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock is always on our list. Tim, why do they call it Truck and Tap?
Well, the tap part is easy. They have 12 of them. Bottles, too. Not sure what to drink? All of their beer servers are Cicerone certified. And if you got someone who isn't a beer fan, not to worry. Truck and Tap carries wine, mixed drinks, and even handcrafted sodas.
As for the truck part, well, that's when it gets interesting. Truck and Tap features your favorite Atlanta area food trucks daily. That way, you're getting a different menu every day.
Check it out. Truck and Tap in downtown Woodstock. Truckandtap.com. Let them know that the Beer Guys sent you.
Here at the Beer Guys Radio Show, we love to bring you the stories behind the craft beer that you love. And we'd be grateful if you took the time to check out our Patreon site. It's at patreon.com/beerguys. If you choose to become one of our donors, you'll get some awesome swag, including t-shirts, glasses, and some stickers, too. Thanks again for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We are really happy that you have enjoyed the show. And please subscribe, tell a friend, and head to patreon.com/beerguys. Cheers.
Andrew and Lisa with Your Pie Perimeter here. We'd like to invite you to our store for beer.
Is there anything better than pizza?
Yep, brick oven pizza that's made fresh and paired with a cold craft beer.
That's what you get at Your Pie Perimeter, located in the Perimeter Place Shopping Center by Perimeter Mall.
It's the perfect place to relax on the patio with a pint after work or bring the family in.
Andrew and Lisa, I'm going to let you finish, but first, you forgot to mention the $3 craft beer specials you have every Thursday. I mean, come on, the pizza's great, but that's an amazing deal. $3 craft beer specials every Thursday. Now, go ahead and finish your commercial.
Follow Your Pie Perimeter on Facebook for all of our beer events and specials.
That's Your Pie Perimeter, located in Perimeter Place Shopping Center next to Chipotle.
Hey, it's Aaron, and you're a fan of craft beer, right? And you want to know more about what's going on in the craft beer scene in Georgia? Thanks to the hard work from my co-host Tim, we are giving you the lowdown on the craft beer scene every week, right in your inbox. Go to beerguysradio.com and sign up for This Week in Georgia Beer right at the top. We won't spam you, promise, or sell your name. Just good beer info every week. Plus, you can win great prizes from us. This Week in Georgia Beer, sign up today. beerguysradio.com.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Want some advice? Well, yeah. Well, here's all you need to know. Class is nothing before 11. Beer, it's your best friend. You drink a lot of it. Women, you're a freshman, so it's pretty much out of the question.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Check us out at beerguysradio.com. We're broadcasting from the AM 920 The Answer Studios in beautiful Buckhead, Atlanta, Georgia. And this week we're talking Breweriana with Lee Dickson and Ken Jones. Guys, thanks again for joining us.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
Good times, good times.
Well, first of all, Lee came prepared, by the way. He cracked open a new one for us, actually. Can you tell us what we're drinking right now?
Yeah, this is from Dry Log Brewing in Pittsburgh, or specifically Millvale, Allison Park. They have two different breweries. They do a lot of open fermentation, mixed culture, barrel aging, and they have a cool ship at the brewery, so you're drinking Pittsburgh right now.
Okay. No wonder why it's very tart and full of body.
Tart
exactly.
It
tastes
the
like
hometown stuff.
Tastes like a championship rings from the Steelers, I guess, maybe.
That's right.
But that's it.
That's
so
right.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk about this because Tim and I are both kind of history nerds, and you guys are, and I'm a collectibles guy too, much to my wife's chagrin. But Breweriana, what are we talking about here? What exactly are we talking about?
Well, Breweriana is really anything related to beer. So it can be beer cans, beer labels, beer signs, bottles, just anything brewery related. It can even be bottle caps or anything like that. So just whatever you like to collect. We're kind of a collaboration of different collectors, and so there's really no strict guideline about what Breweriana is, just anything related to beer.
So, Ken, what got you into Breweriana? What sparked your interest there?
Well, I started way back in the 70s when actually a friend and I were looking to make some money, and so we started picking up aluminum cans, trying to recycle aluminum. Mm-hmm. And I noticed some odd brands, and so I saved one of each brand at the end of the day, and that's what got me started. And then eventually my father started bringing a few to me, empty, of course, because I was only 16, but. And then gradually I found out that there were thousands of other collectors across the country that did the same thing, and we have an organization and a club that brings us all together, and so that's how I got hooked. And eventually I narrowed my focus down to just Georgia-related items, but there are many different ways that you can collect Breweriana.
Very cool. Lee, how about you? How'd you get started in the hobby?
Yeah, similar thing. My stepdad played softball, so we toured around western New York and all through Ohio. And growing up in the Pittsburgh area, there was a lot of different cans from regional breweries and a lot of softball teams and things that brought beers from other places. So a lot like Ken, I just started picking up the different ones and taking them home, and then people started bringing them to me, and here we are.
Yeah, and you've got some cool ones that you've brought in, by the way. Some Iron City beer there, one of the classics from your neck of the woods from Western Pennsylvania, too. So very cool.
He's got a suitcase full of collectible cans.
Suitcase full of cans.
So.
I remember when I was a kid, I had a thing for bottle caps. I started collecting some bottle caps, and I wanted some for a collection, and so my uncle went to Europe. And he said that he had the greatest time helping me out because he just brought me a bunch of beer that he drank, the bottle caps that he drank. So he basically just drank his way through Europe for like 2 weeks and sent me back some caps. So
you both win, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It was a win-win for both of us. So
very cool.
Yeah. So Georgia, of course, Georgia here and of course across the Southeast. An interesting brewing history. We had a few breweries here in the South prior to Prohibition, but most didn't survive. Correct? Is that how it worked?
That's true. It really. Georgia was more of a Bible Belt type setup, and there were only a handful of breweries prior to Prohibition. There were a couple in Atlanta. Only one really survived. There was one in Macon. There was one in Augusta. There were a couple in Savannah, and briefly there was one in Columbus, Georgia, and there was also one briefly in Brunswick, Georgia. But none of them, except for Atlanta. Atlanta was the only brewery that survived Prohibition. The rest of them could not make it and eventually closed the doors.
It's interesting that nowadays you see in the craft beer movement, we're starting to get more breweries that are local in some of those same cities that they died off back in the 20s and 30s, but now they're starting to kind of their beer and brewing culture is starting to come back.
Right, so, Drink Local is back in, and really there was a smaller group of German, mostly Germans, or who started most and ran most of the breweries back then, and there really weren't many Germans in the Georgia area back then. They were concentrated in the St. Louis, Cincinnati, Milwaukee area of the United States. So.
And that's why we got the big ones, the Anheuser-Busch's, the Miller Coors, the what is that? They had Schlitz, they had Rheingeist. I remember that too. There's just a bunch of those old with German names out there too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You look like you're going to say something to us, Sarah Lee.
I almost said Carlings and sounded like an idiot because that's not German; it's Canadian.
It's Canadian.
There you go.
That's an old one though. As you know, again, I live fairly close to the Canadian border, and I remember Carlings actually. So
we had a brewery in Atlanta, a Carlings brewery, so that's why I brought that up.
That's right, because I think it was in the 70s they had a distribution or facility down here.
Actually, the Carling Brewery was built from scratch and it opened in 1958. It was down at the exit opposite where the Ford plant used to be on I-75.
On the south side,
now the Porsche facility is where the Ford plant used to be, but it's on the opposite side of 75. The building is still there. It was a Coca-Cola syrup building for many years, but Carling quit brewing there in about 1972.
Okay.
So they were there for quite a while.
I used to live in McDonough. I used to drive by that all the time. I know exactly where that is. So.
And just to give you an idea of other breweries in Georgia, in 1968, Pabst Blue Ribbon opened up a brewery down south of Warren Robins, and they incorporated the town into Pabst, Georgia. And then a few years after that, Miller in the 70s bought the old Air Force Base in Albany, Georgia, and opened what is one of the largest breweries in the world down there. And, of course, we have Anheuser-Busch in Cartersville that opened up there a while back.
So a lot of big breweries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, that's looking at that, I imagine with collectibles, there's a period there because we're kind of on a curve as far as number of breweries. Pre-Prohibition, we had thousands.
That's correct.
And then, of course, Prohibition just knocked most except for, just
only
down
the strongest
to a few
survived,
right?
Right.
And then now we're back in this spike
it's
again.
It's come full circle. It really has, and then some.
Yeah,
which is great locally.
And I remember seeing in the the Atlanta Beer Book that Ron and Mary wrote, that they were talking about the Atlanta Brewing Company actually was kind of victim of big beer at the time. That these big brands started to move out back when the big beer became big beer, or started to become, these regional ones faced trouble.
Right.
They didn't have the budgets in that, just like we see.
Well, what happened is those breweries, the big beers, started pasteurizing their beer, and that enhanced the shelf life on it, and they were able to use rail cars to ship it all over the country and compete with local breweries. Many of the local breweries did not pasteurize their beer, as Atlantic did not, and eventually they got to a point where they would either have to spend a lot of money to update their equipment or get out of it. And they actually were pretty successful in other industries, cold storage and convenience stores, and so they just chose to not continue brewing after 1956.
Because they were an ice company for a while as well, correct?
Ice and cold storage, yeah. And they started off, the brewery originally was here since 1867. The ice part of it really came along after Prohibition, when the Atlantic Ice and Coal Company bought the Atlanta Brewery and then started adding additional locations around the South.
Very cool.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I guess you see some of the regional breweries up north that survived a little bit. Like you said, Iron City, Narragansett's another one that I'm thinking of, in New England and those. But I guess maybe the ones in the South, a little bit more of a geographical stretch for them, weren't able to maybe compete with them. So it's a very interesting piece. But now, like I said, we're growing again, and we're getting the craft beer industry back, and more beer for everyone is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Definitely. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break right now. You're listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com. We are talking brewery history and Breweriana with Lee Dickson and Ken Jones. We'll talk about collecting some Breweriana, how to get started, and a cool event that they've got coming up right after the break. We'll be back right after this.
Hello, everybody. This is Larry, WACHS, from the WACHS Modcast, Atlanta's #1 smartphone radio show. And I've been drinking beer with the Beer Guys on Beer Guys Radio. And I want to know why I have 11 fingers all of a sudden.
The Beer Guys are back right after this. The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.
Hey, it is Aaron with the Beer Guys, and we are talking craft beer from the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market. If you are getting together with the crew this weekend, you need to skip the grocery store, head to the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market to pick up growlers, or yes, they've got crowlers too, of the craft beer you love. It is a great place to spend the summertime with craft beer, barbecue fixin', fresh local meats and cheeses, all of that great stuff. They make hanging out with the friends on weekends easy. Make sure to grab some local beers from Creature Comforts, Omaha, Southern, Arches, Monday Night, Sweetwater, all of the great Georgia breweries that we have. Of course, it's beer drinking season, but it's also grilling season. And the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market has you covered with all things Big Green Egg. They've got grills of all sizes and all the accessories. Seriously, they've got everything you need for a great barbecue. It is quite simple. If you like craft beer, you have to visit the Stout Brothers Smyrna Beer Market. It's in the Smyrna Market Village, and check out thestoutbrothers.com for the tap list. That's thestoutbrothers.com, and let them know the Beer Guy sent you.
We are Reformation Brewery, celebrating the reformer in you. Locally crafted within the renowned Etowah watershed of Woodstock, Georgia, Reformation creates yeast-forward brews full of aroma and flavor crafted to last. Come see us in beautiful Woodstock, Georgia, for a tour and tasting of unique brews that you can't find anywhere else. Reformation Brewery, set beer free. ReformationBrewery.com.
If you're into craft beer, you need to check out Drink This Beer. It's a podcast from the creators of Beer Guys Radio. Tim Dennis and Aaron Williams talk to some of the best and most important brewers across the country and the world. So if you like to drink beer, pull up a chair and crack open the Drink This Beer podcast. Available on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you ever thought about owning your own brewery, but don't know what it takes to get one built? We're CRL Contracting, and we build breweries. We are the most experienced contractors in the state of Georgia when it comes to building new breweries and tap rooms, or expanding current breweries. If you've been to Orpheus, Second Self, or Scofflaw, then you know what kind of work we can do. Just give us a call at 678-546-3382 or visit crlcontracting.com for more information. CRL Contracting. We build breweries. crlcontracting.com.
Ahoy there, mateys! Hunting whales? We've got you covered with Tim's Whale of the Week.
All right, we got one whale this week. What do we got?
So
Yes.
I'm disappointed, Aaron.
I'm sorry.
You always say "arr."
Arr!
When we
How
come
about that?
back
I'm
in.
sorry, I've got vacation on the mind.
I've got used
and
to it.
Sorry.
I expect it from
I
you.
just vacation on the mind. I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
It's just like
it's okay.
yep.
Soon, Aaron. Soon.
Okay, there you go.
You know, we're taping a little earlier this week because one of our hosts is going on vacation.
That's
He's
me.
running off. So I've just got one that folks should look out for, and it's releasing today at Arches Brewing. It is James and the Georgia Peach, and that is a Cascade hopped pale ale with Georgia peaches added to it. And they
I love the name.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
And they said when they put that on last year that it kicked in one weekend. So get out there and get it while you can. And I'm sure there's others out there, so just go out and get you some beer. But take a look for that at Arches at the brewery.
And by the way, we cracked open a growler of Jailhouse Coffee IPA that you guys got at the brewery. Buckshot, is that what it's called? Coffee Mugshot IPA. That's tasty.
Yes.
I mean, Jailhouse is that's good stuff right there.
This beer is my jam. It kind of reminds me a little bit about some of the Bedhead IPAs that came out at Monday night.
Mm-hmm. They did a really nice job with this one. That's tasty. That is also my jam as well. So, anyway, yes.
Beer cans Breweriana, right?
That's what we're talking about, exactly.
So I had a question that I asked you. I asked Lee offline, and I'm just curious, so I'm going to repeat it here again. The value of cans based on being opened or unopened. And Lee, you had said that not really a lot of difference, right?
There is. Most European, and Ken can correct me if I'm wrong here, but a lot of European collectors open from the top, just like anyone would open a beer can and pour it in the glass. But most American collectors have always opened from the bottom with the church key, and the simple answer to that is to preserve, the top, because things change constantly. You've got different types of openers. You've got, zip tops, different types of tab tops, and the tabs change colors, and you've got wide mouth and the easy flow piercing, and
the holes.
So
in the
there's
can,
something
all the
unique
kind
on
of
the
stuff,
top that you don't want to destroy.
There's usually something
right?
that comes out every year or two that preserves the can.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Ken, you brought a can here that actually has instructions on how to open it because it was so new. The actual church key idea was so new at the time.
That's right. When cans were first introduced in 1935, only fruit cans and soup cans had been used, and so nobody really knew how to open a can with a can opener, with a can piercer. So first few years, they had actually put instructions on the can so that you'd know how to do that. As far as full cans go, when cans were made out of steel, it was okay to leave them full because they were pretty tough, pretty thick. But as aluminum became more popular, and now more recently it's much thinner, it's really not safe to leave a can full.
Okay.
At the very least, you may wake up one day and find that the can has sprung a leak and leaked all over the rest of your collectibles. At worst, if they're overcarbonated or have some active yeast in them, the cans can actually explode, as some of our local craft brewers have found out in some of their cannings as they've come along.
At worst, you get a grenade, basically.
Right, yeah. So you don't want to leave it full because it's under pressure, and it's always looking for the weakest point in that little thin aluminum, and it's going to pop it eventually. So you do want to bottom open them. I know many people that collected Braves Coca-Cola cans and had them as part of their Braves memorabilia collection. They woke up one morning and it's all covered in Coke because the can exploded. So if they're full, drink them while they're fresh or empty them while they're bad.
Yeah. So packaging for beer. Way back in the day, started in bottles, went to things like cone top cans and that, and bottles and that. Then when the microbrew or craft beer movement came on, bottles was the only way to drink. You didn't drink beer out of cans.
That was the impression, and really, as far as cone tops go, I don't. Most people wouldn't know this, but cone tops actually came about because most of the breweries had canning lines. Most of the breweries had bottling lines, and a flat top can, as this other can that we looked at earlier, the instructional can. In order to put a flat top can in, you had to put a whole new canning line in. Whereas a cone top actually used a bottle cap just like a bottle, and it doesn't screw off, it pops off. And so they could make minor modifications to their bottling line and bottle canned cone tops.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's why for the first 15, 20 years, that's why there were more cone tops. But gradually, they phased out cone tops because they take up more space and they're harder to stack, and a couple other reasons. So eventually, flat tops went out, and gradually,
and here we are,
pop tops
right?
kicked in,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And as far as cans go, the can is the perfect container as far as protecting a beer from light and also from contamination. And also, most of your local recyclers now no longer take glass. So,
right.
Most of the craft breweries are very socially or environmentally conscious about their imprint, and so that's why most of them are going back to cans. And it does provide a challenge for the larger 22-ounce size or whatever. But, they have, like this is the 19.2-ounce can.
Right, some terrapin there, right?
And,
Tall
of course,
boys,
we
yeah.
have Crowlers, the 32-ounce. But that's really what's happening with cans. They're easily recyclable and protect the beer from light.
And it was very recently that any Georgia brewery started canning their beer again, right?
That's right. Red Hare was the first craft brewery here in Georgia to do cans, and that was one of their distinctions, and they still are kind of a leader in that area. They can pretty much all of their beers. So.
Right. And that was, what, 4?
That was several years ago. Yeah, that was when they
That's
started.
right.
Yeah.
And actually, the very first cans were called First Edition Ever cans, and those are quite collectible. If any of you people out there have one, track one of us down. We're probably looking for one.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, and if you're someone who wants to get into collecting cans or collecting something like that, how do you start and not really just have your wife kill you because you're doing this? This is what's the best way to do that?
Well, that's the great thing about our hobby. It's so easy to collect. You can focus on just the area that you're interested in. It might just be Georgia breweries, or it might just be a particular style like IPA or Saison. So you can kind of set your own parameters. And that was something I had to learn when I was first collecting. I wanted to collect every can from everywhere. Mm-hmm. Well, I had a 10-foot by 10-foot room, that was my bedroom, and I could get 1,000 or so in there. But there are about 50 or 60,000 different U.S. cans alone of different sizes and shapes. And just having the room to store them all would be huge, mammoth warehouse. So
I was going to say, and with 5,000 breweries in the United States alone, you're just never going to catch up. That's impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a hard enough time just keeping up with Georgia craft breweries out. Now we have, I think, 28 different craft breweries here in Georgia that are canning or have canned their beers, and more coming along. So we're hearing. So and the more the merrier. We love it, but it is a challenge sometimes to keep up.
I'm having a storage problem with my can and bottle collection at home now, so it's just taking over. They're all still full, but it's a fairly expensive
collection. We can help you with that, by the way, just FYI. That's always key.
So is it cans only with you guys? I just noticed this. There are no bottles here. I'm guessing they're probably harder to store and maintain, but
I do have some bottles, but not as many. I traditionally save on the cans, but there are some people that all they collect is bottles, and there are other people that would rather just have the label, not even on the bottle. But I have a few bottles. I have a couple of Monday night bottles that were with the special label of like a tie. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh yeah,
that was the Garage Club.
Garage Club, the black. Yes. That's just the beige with a black tie on it, right?
Yes. So I have some of those type of bottles, but really it's just you have to choose. Really, you can only collect so much stuff and have so much space. So, but we do have other collectors that collect just bottle caps or just labels or just bottles. So.
Yeah, that's what I could add is bottle caps, coasters. You can keep those in a shoebox. I mean, you don't have to collect cans so that you have to keep them in the garage or whatever.
Collect kegs.
There are things you can collect. And that's kind of some of the things I like to collect as well.
Yeah, and plus there's there's trays, there's ads, there's just a bunch of different things that you can be collecting too.
Well, for a while I started collecting 24-count bottle boxes from all the Georgia craft breweries. The different all the different Sweetwater boxes are so cool looking, and all the Monday night boxes. I got to about 30 boxes. My wife said, no
more boxes.
Garage needs cleaning out. Recycle all those boxes. So I had to reevaluate that.
That's and like I said, there's I know with cap collecting, Lee, I've seen some pretty cool ways to display them. They've got the maps where you can just pop them in there, and put them around the states and that. Put a small portion of the collection, but looks like something that would be easy to contain and display if you wanted to.
Exactly.
So.
You have a small space.
I used to be really organized, and you just put them on a big piece of cardboard under your guest bed, and you can stack them all the way to where the mattress hits. You can keep thousands under there and keep them organized on a piece of cardboard based by the country or whatever, however you want to separate them out.
It's almost like, your baseball card collection or something like that from back in the day. Cool. We're talking Breweriana and collecting brew and beer history stuff with Lee Dickson and Ken Jones. We're going to take a quick break right now. You listen to the Beer Guys Radio Show, beerguysradio.com. We'll be back right after this. Hey, it's Aaron from the Beer Guys Radio Show, and it is summer, and it is time to talk about barbecue. Yeah, the Nest in downtown Kennesaw is the destination for not only some amazing barbecue, but it's one of the best craft beer spots, OTP or ITP. And if you're hungry for some barbecue to go along with that craft beer, you know you need to be at the Nest. Summertime, like I said, it is here. Celebrate the season with friends and family while sipping on a Georgia-made beer on their 2,000-square-foot patio. Try some brews from some of your favorite breweries like Creature Comforts, Jekyll, Omaha, Red Brick, Reformation, Dry County, so much more. Go check it out. They've got awesome barbecue. 59 taps pouring the best craft beer from Georgia and around the world. Coffee and wine, too, for those who like that kind of stuff. What else do you want? It's the Nest in historic downtown Kennesaw on Cherokee Street Northwest. Check out their current beer list and menu at thenestkennesaw.com and let them know the Beer Guy sent you.
Follow the Beer Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, I'm sure I'd feel much worse if I weren't under such heavy sedation.
Now, back to the Beer Guys Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Come check us out at beerguysradio.com. And we're in the studio this week with Lee Dickson and Ken Jones, and we're talking beer history and Breweriana.
Very cool.
There's been some really awesome stuff here.
No, it is.
Ken
it's amazing.
just shared some bottles with us, a hand-blown glass beer bottle from 1880s, Ken, did you say?
Correct.
Yeah, just amazing stuff. I'm fascinated by these
too.
old bottles here.
Absolutely. So last segment, we got to get some stuff taken care of.
Yeah. So guys, we got just a little time here left to talk, and kind of rushing because we got chatty, or I did. But one thing you wanted to mention, there's a lot of history in Georgia beer, and there's an opportunity there for today's brewers to kind of remember that. Correct?
That's true. The Atlanta Brewing and Ice Company had a number of different brands, and I don't know what copyright issues there might be, but this is possible that they could use some of the same names or same themes, I guess, as they had.
We might even have some brewers that could recall their own breweries from back in the day there.
A couple of those guys, yeah.
Like Dogwood.
There you go. See, that's it.
Yeah. So good deal. Awesome. And the big thing, one thing that got us talking here, you guys have a big show coming up in Atlanta, correct?
That's right. We have a national club that's called the BCCA, which is a Brewery Collectibles Club of America. We have almost 4,000 members. And then regionally, we have what we call local chapters. And it just basically allows local collectors to get together and buy, sell, trade, swap with each other. So once a year, we have a show here in Atlanta, which is a buy, sell, trade show. And it's coming up on July 29th. And there's no admission to this show to come and participate, to buy things or trade them. If you want to come and set up a table, if you have extra things you want to trade, there's a small fee for that. But otherwise, it's open to the public, and we welcome everybody to come and just check it out. This year, it's at Greater Good Barbecue up in Tucker. They have a banquet room in the back, and we'll be set up there. And that's going to be on the 29th of July. It starts at 9 a.m., and it lasts until about 2, but really things are pretty much over with by noon. So if you want to come by, I'd say try to come by before noon. They have great barbecue, and of course they have local craft beer on tap as well, so that's good.
Awesome. And going to this show, it's a great way if you've got a man cave or a game room or whatever. Some pretty cool stuff if you're looking for some unique decorations. Right.
There'll be a lot of cans there, but there'll be everything from signs, bottles, trays, old things, new things. Or if you have something you want to praise, or you want to know what it's worth, or you're looking for something, this is a great place to do it if it's beer related.
So what's the holy grail of Georgia beer collecting? Is there a holy grail of Georgia beer collecting?
You know, the earliest bottles and labels are probably the toughest thing to find. Probably one of the holy grails is one of the bottles that we have, which is a crock bottle, which is a clay bottle that has a stencil on it. And this bottle This is a 16-ounce example of this bottle. However, there was also a 32-ounce example, and that is one of the. There are only 3 known, as far as we can tell, of that bottle. It's
that is
very
so
tough.
cool, by the way. That is
of the core,
awesome.
the 32-ounce size one.
Now, a question that I'm sure I know the answer to, but that looks pristine. Is that a original or is that a recreation?
No, that's original.
Wow.
That's original. If you look closely, you can see it has some crazoning in the clay. And I have some that are in worse condition. I started to bring. I've got one that has the top broken off of it, but I thought I'd bring the whole bottle for the show.
Don't drop it, Brian.
There, don't
show us your juggling skills, Brian. You
Please
got
don't.
a few right there.
No,
So.
please don't. But and then I'd say the very earliest advertising. I know the Atlanta Brewing and Ice Company. I've seen a photograph of the original brewery with the employees in front of it, and it has a couple of curved corner signs that say Atlanta Brewing and Ice and have pictures of their bottles. That would probably be the holy grail of Atlanta Breweriana, but cool. I don't think it exists in this. I think it only exists in the picture, but something like that. But if you have something like that or something you think might be collectible, that shows a great place to bring it, just to show it or document it, even if you don't want to sell it. Or if you do want to sell it, somebody
you're
probably
cleaning
would buy
out
it.
your grandfather's garage or something, and you come across.
Get those American pickers guys to come help you go through
there
something,
you go.
right?
That's it.
Now, guys, with the way all this stuff, I mean, we're talking 1800s, early 1900s and all this. Anything you can collect and attach to a time period, I mean, there's a lot of history that can be attached to this. So it's not just beer collecting, but this is history we're talking about here.
Right. We're in some ways the historians for some of these breweries, because they aren't really keeping a record, and that's actually still the case. Some of the craft breweries here, they're just trying to be profitable, make money, and be successful. They don't save any of the things that they can or bottle. They as a matter of fact, I found that to be the case. When they start canning something or bottling something, they use every can or every bottle because they need to sell every product they can to make the bottom line. And so they don't save anything of their previous cans, or they don't have an archive or anything. We are the historians for that.
And it's it's not only for the beer history, but also for the packaging industry, too, because the different samples you have here, like the hand-blown glass or the crock or the can that we talked about earlier with the instructions on how to open it, it's very interesting to see how the evolution of packaging and design has come over the years.
Right. Well, what I have in my hand right now is a corkscrew, a wood-handled corkscrew. Most people would say, well, this isn't a wine show, is it? Well, actually, the bottle cap wasn't patented until 1899, and so any bottled beer prior to 1899 or 1900 had to have another kind of closure on it. Now there were corks in most of these beers, but there were some that had a closure similar to what you see on a modern Grolsch bottle.
The flip top thing.
Those were popular, and there were a couple other varieties of that. But corks or some kind of flip top is what they used up until early 1900s. Of course, the vast majority of beer sold prior to then was in kegs anyway. So bottles really started becoming popular in the 1890s and after the turn of the century.
Very cool.
It's like those things you see in the cartoons, the big XXX, and they have the jug there with the whiskey.
Yosemite Sam whiskey jug there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, cool. Just ready to wrap it up, guys. Is there anything that we missed? Anything else you guys want to mention before we go?
There was one thing I wanted to mention real quick. There's a few places that you can see Breweriana around Atlanta. Two of my favorites. The Wing in Marietta. JK has been collecting bottles for years and years. One cool thing in his collection is the New Albion bottles, credited with one of America's first craft breweries. He's got some bottles there. And then one of the other places I really enjoy is 6 Feet Under. They have 2 locations, but the Grant Park location is one of my favorites, and they do a lot of the Atlantic Breweriana on the walls and a lot of the cans. So
I put together a lot of that for Tad. Came out of my basement, actually.
Very cool.
So
nice.
It's at both locations, and he has a pretty big can collection at both locations as well.
Guys, are there Facebook groups or a website or anything if someone wants to know more about the collectors groups or that?
There are. We have the national site, which is Brewery Collectibles Club of America, but there is also a local site, which is a BCCA Atlantic chapter. So
excellent. Okay.
All right.
Excellent. Well,
good
cool.
deal, guys. This was extremely informative and fun. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Absolutely.
Cool. Really quick, let's check out the hot list.
Time for the hot list. The beer guys have the scoop on what's going on next week. Brought to you by CRL Contracting. We build breweries. CRLcontracting.com.
That's hot.
All right, Tim, let's see if we can get all this in. So
You
what
ready?
do we got going
Want me
on?
to go?
Let's go.
I'm going to zoom through it here. I got a lot. Sunday, fun day at Your Pie Perimeter. Go check it out. Get some good beer deals and pizza. On Tuesday, Hop Alley has a beer dinner featuring Farmhouse Brews. On Wednesday, as always, team trivia at Your Pie Perimeter. You can meet the Urban Tree cider maker at DBA Barbecue. Eventide's Curiosity Club is going to teach you needlepoint, and the Porter has pints for pups. So on Thursday, the Brewers Lecture Series at Hop City Midtown featuring Scofflaw. Pint night at Your Pie Perimeter with a featured pint for only $3.14, and an Arches beer dinner at One Eared Stag. On Saturday, a lot of events, Aaron. We got Dirt Church Jeep event at Second Self, Taste of the Bahamas Seafood Fest at Truck and Tap, Christmas in July over there at good old Lincoln Fill Station, Wild Leap Pitchers and Pint Night at Cerrone's in Cerrone's in Columbus, the Hogwarts Alumni Quest for the House Cup,
Nerds.
Up in Woodstock at Reformation, and Beyond the Zero concert at Orpheus.
I'm a nerd too. It's okay. Okay, good.
I know.
Excellent.
Tell us about Alabama.
All right, here we go. Rocket City Art Hops at Salty Nut Brewery in Huntsville, and that's going to be on Sunday. Also on Sunday, the pop-up dinner series at Old Town Beer Exchange will feature Chef Greg Glass. I'll have sushi class on Monday at Ghost Train Brewing Company in Birmingham. And on Wednesday, we have Blue Pints Steal a Pint Night at Jack Brown's Burger and Beer Joint in Birmingham. And, of course, for a full list of events, check out our calendar at beerguysradio.com. Time for a giveaway to give away, Tim.
Giveaway to give away. Our winner is Gary Hamilton.
Woohoo!
Gary, thank you so much for subscribing to This Week in Georgia Beer. Drop us an email to beerguys@beerguysradio.com, and we will get you a super cool Georgia and Alabama beer swag pack sent out to you.
Definitely. Now, if you want to be like Gary and win some swag packs, all you have to do is head to beerguysradio.com, sign up for This Week in Georgia Beer. You'll get a weekly newsletter with all the happenings in Georgia beer. You'll also be entered to win our weekly swag pack. And also, I want to let folks know, if you want to vote, please vote for us at Creative Loafing. They're having their Best of Atlanta, and I think it's the Cityscapes version.
The Cityscapes category, Best at Local Podcast.
Exactly.
Beer Guys Radio.
You can vote for me as coolest guy too, but I'm not gonna win. So
Off the beaten path tourist destination.
Hey now, that's right.
Yeah.
I will be on vacation, but coming up next week, you guys have got beer and wine pairing. Should be fun.
Not beer and wine pairing. This is going to be beer for wine drinkers.
There you go.
So we're gonna, if you drink wine, you're not a beer person, we're going to have some folks in here that are going to offer suggestions of how to make the switch.
Excellent. I'll be drinking Northeast IPAs at the time.
There you go.
So, beerguysradio.com and on the socials, check us out, and we'll talk to you next week. Don't forget, drink local, and cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Beer Guys Radio Show. We're on demand via iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Always online at beerguysradio.com. Aaron and Tim are back next week with more about the amazing world of craft beer. Cheers.
And I know it's that time you've all been waiting for. It is time for the Patreon shout-out. This is a shout-out for all of our Patreon members. Thank you so much for donating. And here you go. Shout-out to Joshua Doherty, Edgar Smith, Nick Estes, John Carter, James Walker, Matt Johnson, Justin Crandall, and Brian Shank. Thank you so much, guys, for donating to our Patreon page. And if you want to do the same thing, it is super easy. Just head to patreon.com/beerguys and appreciate your support. Thanks.
The Beer Guys Radio Show on the Beer Guys Radio Network. BeerGuysRadio.com.